Video is going to show you how to make a slideshow with some images that you like, only using HTML and CSS. I borrowed this from a website. Let me find that website. I borrowed this from the website dev.to, so shout out to them, but I'm just going to walk you through it to help you make sense of it. Okay, first thing we're going to do is just create a container that is going to hold your slideshow. So I'll say div class equals container. Oops. You can call it whatever you want, but this is the container to hold everything. So I'm going to create this, or call this container. Now in the CSS, we're going to style the container. You can do just about anything you want to style it. What I did first when I saved all of my images in here, I made them all the exact same width and height. That way when we're going through the slideshow, it's not a bunch of different widths and heights. So I made all of my images 300 pixels wide and 400 pixels tall. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the width of my container to match my images. All of my images are 300 pixels. I want this position to be absolute. I don't want it to move around. I want to put this in the center. So I'm going to translate this 50% in both directions. I'm going to add a top margin of 50% as well. Just trying to center this box, this container for my slideshow, and left 50%. Now I've got margins, top and left. Overflow hidden will mean that there's not going to be like any extra edges on the side. If there are any extra edges, we don't want to see that at all. Now this next part, you can do whatever you want, but putting a border around it kind of makes it look like a picture frame, if you will. And you can choose whatever color. You don't have to put a border at all. You can change the width, but this looks pretty cool the way they did this. And then border radius kind of rounds the edges, 8 pixels. And this is probably the coolest part. This really makes it look three-dimensional. So we're putting a shadow around it. And this 10 pixels means we're going to put that amount of shadow on the top, 25 pixels on the right, and 30 pixels on the bottom. And then what color do we want? We want it to be somewhat see-through or opaque. So we're going to do 0, 0, 0, and then 0.3. So that'll be kind of an opaque background. Let's go take a look and see what that looks like. I'm just going to run it here real quick. Oh, we can't see it but you can kind of see. If I had a different background color, it might be easier. Let's say background color. Let's just do blue, so it'll be easier to see the container. Oh, we're not seeing all of it, but we will. Let me just keep going. It will show up the way we want it to. Okay, what I'm going to do next then is I'm going to put my images in a separate div. So I'm going to say div class equals wrapper. We're putting a wrapper inside of this container. And inside of this, I'm just going to put my 3 images. So my image source is sale1.jpg. Don't forget to close the pointy bracket. And my next image, the source is sale2. And I have a third image, sale3. Make sure you're closing those pointy brackets there at the end. Okay, so I've got this container around my wrapper, and inside my wrapper I have my 3 images. Okay, let's go back now to the CSS, and we're going to style the wrapper. So the going to style this. I want the width to be 100% of the container. It's going to fill the container. Display will be flex. Talked about flex boxes. And I'm going to create an animation. I'm going to call the animation slide. And you can make it as long as you want, but I'm just going to say 16 seconds. You can make it as long as you want. And I want it to just infinitely slide back and forth from one image to the next. Okay, for my images then, I want their widths to be 100% of the wrapper. So the wrapper is inside the container and the images are inside the wrapper. Okay, now let's make these things move. We're going to use something called keyframes. What keyframes does is it's saying, this is my animation. And in my animation, I want things to move at a certain time. So I'm going to actually make this, because I only have 3 images, I'm going to make this divide by 3, so I'm making it 15 seconds. So I'm going to say at keyframes, remember I named my animation, I named it slide. So I'm going to say for that animation called slide, I'm going to do some things here. What I'm going to do, because I've got 15 seconds, I want to divide that into 3 equal parts, 1 for each image that I've put in here. So for my first image, this is at 0%, meaning we are at the beginning of our animation. I want to, just say I'm ready for this first image, and I want it to just stay here. So this is saying image number 1, I want it to just stay right there. I don't want it to translate at all. It's just going to hold in the frame and wait. 33% now is for our first image still, because remember we've got 3 images and we're dividing 100% into 3 different parts. So I'm still saying at 33% of, or 1/3 of the way through our 15 seconds, I still want that first image to show up. I don't want it to go to the next image yet. Okay, now I'm going to go to my next slide. So my next slide, I'm going to say, I don't know, a few percentages later, so a part of a second later, I'm going to just say 40%. Let's start making the transition now. Let's start, I keep spelling transform wrong. Let's start sliding in that second image. Remember, it was 100% for the width, so I'm going to say, let's move it to the left 100%. So what that's going to do is it's going to start sliding the next image over into place and take the place of the first one. 66% of the time, so now we're 10 seconds in. I'm saying just hold that second image just for a little while longer. I'm not ready to move to the next image yet. Now, a few percentage, whatever, a few seconds later. Did I miss something here? Transform, translate X. This one's angry at me. What did I do wrong? Oh, percent, not $sign. I'm sure you noticed that. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is say, let's start getting ready to slide the next image in. So, I don't know, a couple percentages later, so 73%. So a few parts of a second. It's time to start moving in the next image. So we're going to say minus 200%. And then finally, at the end of 15 seconds, we're going to just hold that third image there. And then because we told this animation to be infinite, this will come all the way back to the top and start all over again. So let's take a look at this and see how it runs. There's my first image. Second image slides in. There's the third image. and then we start all over again. And it'll just keep doing this infinitely forever. 15 seconds was kind of long, so you might want to shorten it, but I made it divide by 3 evenly to make it easier to work with. Okay, that's it.